Thank you very much. I'm so glad so many people are here to hear more about and understand instant runoff voting, and also known as ranked choice voting. It's funny because I have spent more years as a political science teacher than as a elected community college board member. And in all these years, among the many things that I have been teaching my students is, you know, what are the reasons for low voter turnout? And among them is too many elections. It happens all the time. You can't keep track. So again, as has been said, I think the simplicity of one municipal election is very important. The simplicity for people to know when it is and that it's once and that they will have this ranked choice, 1, 2, 3. The other thing, and again, it's already been commented, is civility among candidates. You simply can't trash other people if you want their voters to consider you as second best. You have to be more civil in both the public and community forums and in the mail campaign. And we've all seen what happens in some mail campaign, direct mail. So I think the civility would be vastly increased, and I think that's really healthy for the public polity. It's really important to get away from negativity and trashing each other and stick to the issues. It's also better in the long run because the person who loses this time might win in another election another time, and people's relationships amongst both the elected officials, their supporters, and the community at large should be as positive as possible. And finally, I want to say, of course, that change is hard, and considering a different way of doing things is always challenging. But I wanted to add something that I'm sure will be elaborated on. The timing of this is very important. And I think there are people in the room who actually know a lot more about this than I do, but it appears that in the near future that the voting machines that have been in use will need, mandated by the state, to be transformed, or there will be new machines. And so if in the process of spending the resources as required by higher authority to provide new machines for our voting here in Los Angeles, if we at the same time are sure that those machines allow for this more civil, more simple, more positive system of voting, I think that that's a huge plus. And I'm sure you'll hear more about that later. And finally, I would like to echo what's been said. It's a really big deal to a community college district to have $4 million, and I want to be very clear, those same dollars could have been spent on students, they could have been spent on classes, and they were spent on a runoff election for 6% of the eligible voters to vote. This, too, is a great motivation for our district. Thank you very much.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. Well, for me, I guess from my perspective, I think if we wear our trustee hat, I mean, we are, the LACCD is the largest community college district in the nation. We cover 891 square miles. So for us, we run at large. So as Mona says, our costs are tremendous. And I think it's time that we need to start looking at, you know, being more responsible, what kind of impact and influence we can have to do things differently for our district. And I think this is a prime opportunity for us to really be active. And I really do have to thank Mona, because I think she's one of the ones who kind of brought this forward to our board. And we did take a position and voted on this back in 2007. So I think, you know, we really have been very, very active in trying to work with people, individuals, to really see that it's time that we do things differently. And for, you know, we talked a little bit about my being on the district. One of the things that we really have been trying to do as the board is really be more responsible with our environment. And this really has a huge impact on our environment. Just as we said, I think the last time they had 20 million pieces of paper that went out to 1.5 million voters and 1,599 voting places. You can imagine the amount of paper that it took and how many trees were killed to do this. And so for us, I really want to look at it a little differently, that yes, it's going to save us dollars, it's going to create people to run for politics in a little different way, but it's also going to have a huge impact in reducing waste on our environment. But for me, I think the other thing is, most importantly, is, how can we reduce voter apathy? And I think this is one way to do it. How can we energize our citizens? And I think we need to begin to look at things differently, that we can't do it in the same traditional way that we've been raised to do it. And as we said, change is hard, but it's also exciting. And I think for us to be able to be part of this change is exciting. And, there is voter fatigue, not just from the business community, but even our friends in labor and everybody. I mean, you're just inundated constantly. And as a candidate, I mean, you're constantly, out there begging for dollars, doing all these things that if we go into instant runoff, I mean, the world will change somewhat. And I think it's only for the better. And for me, I guess I have to think a little bit. Recently, I kind of live in two different worlds. One of them is because we have 9 colleges, I have the great opportunity of working with so many young people that are going to school and listening and going through all the colleges and talking with them. And they're always talking about why, we talk about the voter runoff. It's like, it's time you do things differently. This is, computer generation, a new kind of era. And the reality is we can lament, attention deficit that all these kids have. But the fact is, the reality is if we can get them to the table to come and to vote one time, and it's all it's going to take, it's going to increase the participation. But on the other end, I have aging parents, and my deal with a lot of senior citizens, much more senior than myself, who also now talk about, why can't you just damn do this one time and just do it all so we don't have to keep going back and forth, because, sometimes we forget we're old, and they make me laugh. But the fact that this is a different population, we have the young population who's ready for change because they're tired of the old ways, but then we have the population who's slowing down and who has different kind of health issues, and they would be more able to have a voice in our government if we go to this kind of new policy and new voting method. So I think, there's so many great benefits to this that I think we owe it to ourselves to really think about making the change and making it soon. Thank you.